Today, we're going to answer the biggest question people ask about this vehicle, and I mean the real question, not the simple one. Not how far can it drive, not is it actually $9,990. The real question is this: can a motorhome that runs on electricity actually replace a roof over your head permanently without draining the savings you spent 40 years building? Over the next hour, we're going to answer that together. 3 angles, 3 parts, no hype, no sales pitch, just the facts. We'll start with the financial case, what this vehicle could mean for your monthly housing cost, and whether the numbers actually hold up. Then, we'll move to the charging reality, where you can actually power this thing in 2026, and what the infrastructure gap means for how you travel. And finally, we'll go deeper than any review I've seen. The 4 systems, water, waste, solar, and weight, that decide whether a motorhome can truly function as a permanent home, day after day, week after week. Before we go any further, as of March 2026, no Tesla Motorhome has been officially announced. Do not send money or deposits to anyone claiming otherwise. That is a scam. I am here to give you the analysis, not sell you anything. Let's start from the beginning. The free housing dream. Right now, the average American retiree pays between $1,200 and $2,500 every single month just to keep a roof over their head. Rent, mortgage, HOA fees, property taxes, numbers that don't stop climbing no matter how carefully you've planned. And if you're living on Social Security or a fixed pension, you already know what I'm talking about. You did everything right. You worked for decades, you saved, and somehow the cost of simply existing keeps eating into everything you set aside. But here's what most people in your situation haven't heard yet. There's a vehicle in development right now, not a car, not a truck, something that could completely eliminate your housing payment, something that could let you park anywhere in America, live completely off-grid, and never pay rent again. And the price tag that's been attached to it? $9,990. I'm not asking you to believe it yet. I'm asking you to stay with me, because by the end of this section, you'll have everything you need to decide for yourself whether this is real, whether it makes financial sense for your life, and what the hidden catch actually is. Because there is one, and most videos won't tell you what it is. What Elon Musk actually said, and what he didn't. Let's start with the facts, and only the facts. At a recent Tesla shareholder event, Elon Musk said, and I'm quoting him directly, "I feel confident in saying it will be the most exciting product unveil ever. Production is probably about 12 to 18 months after that." He didn't say motorhome. He didn't say $9,990, but what he described, a vehicle completely unlike anything Tesla has ever built, something that functions as both transportation and a living space, has since been connected by industry analysts and Tesla insiders to what is now being called the Tesla Semi-Motorhome. Here's what we know is confirmed. Tesla is expanding the Semi platform. A Gen 2 version is in development at Giga Nevada, and Dan Priestley, the senior manager of Tesla's Semi program, publicly hinted years ago at a sleeper cab configuration, a vehicle where drivers could live for multiple days at a time. Now, take that hint, add Musk's obsession with affordable housing. The man famously lived in a $50,000 prefab home in Texas while running one of the world's largest companies. Add Tesla's track record of reusing platforms to cut costs dramatically, and the picture starts to come together. If you're wondering whether this is just another overpromised Elon idea, keep watching, because the engineering math on this one actually works out. Why Tesla didn't build this from scratch, and why that's good news for your wallet. Tesla didn't design a motorhome from zero. That would have taken years and cost billions. Instead, they did what they've done before. They took an existing, proven platform and transformed it. Remember how the Model Y was built?
Tesla didn't start fresh. They took the Model 3 architecture, widened it, raised the roof, and created one of the best-selling vehicles in American history. Same engineering logic, completely different product. The Tesla Motorhome reportedly follows the exact same playbook. According to sources familiar with the project, Tesla is retaining approximately 70% of the semi-truck's core design: the chassis, the electric motors, the high-voltage electrical architecture, and the structural frame. What they're removing is the cargo space. What they're adding is a fully livable interior. And before you think that sounds impossible, consider the Semi's dimensions. It's roughly 21 feet long, 8.5 feet wide, and 13 feet tall. That's almost identical to a Class A motorhome. The frame was already there. Tesla just had to decide what to put inside it. That decision to reuse rather than reinvent is what makes the $9,990 price point even remotely possible.
What's actually inside and what it means for your daily life? The interior would feature a full sleeping area with a fold-down or fixed bed, a compact but functional kitchen, induction cooktop, refrigerator, storage, a bathroom with toilet and shower, and full HVAC, heating and air conditioning, powered entirely by the onboard battery. No generator noise, no exhaust fumes, no $80 a night campground hookup fee required. To power all of this without a generator, Tesla is reportedly equipping the motorhome version with a 220 kilowatt-hour battery pack, scaled down from the Semi's 800 kilowatt-hour commercial configuration. That gives you an estimated 300 miles of driving range per charge. But here's what separates this vehicle from every diesel motorhome you've ever seen parked at a campground. Tesla is integrating what's essentially a Powerwall system directly into the vehicle. That means while you're parked, for days or even weeks, the battery isn't just sitting idle. It's functioning as your home's power grid. Your lights, your refrigerator, your climate control, all running silently with zero fuel cost from stored electricity. No generator running at 2 a.m., no propane tank to refill, no monthly electric bill, just silence and power and complete control over your own environment. The solar roof, your free electricity every single day. Tesla is reportedly planning to include a solar panel array across the roofline of the motorhome. Not a token panel that trickle charges a single light, a scaled-down version of Tesla's commercial solar system, enough to recharge the battery while you're parked in sunlight. If you park for 3 to 4 days in a sunny location, Florida, Arizona, New Mexico, Southern California, the roof generates enough electricity to extend your usable battery life significantly without ever plugging in. You're essentially receiving free fuel every day the sun is shining. Over the course of a year, for a retiree who moves slowly, stays a week here, 2 weeks there, the energy cost of operating this vehicle could drop to near zero. Compare that to a traditional diesel motorhome, which burns between $5,000 and $10,000 worth of fuel annually, plus another $2,000 to $4,000 in maintenance, costs that never stop. The Tesla Motorhome, if the solar integration performs as reported, could eliminate that entire expense category. Not reduce it, eliminate it.
Starlink integration, the end of isolation on the road. Here's one of the biggest fears I hear from people considering full-time RV living. What if I need to reach my doctor, my family? What if there's an emergency and I'm in the middle of nowhere? Traditional motorhomes have no answer to that. You're dependent on cell towers. In rural areas, you lose signal, you lose navigation, you lose access to the outside world. The Tesla Motorhome reportedly solves this with direct Starlink satellite internet integration built into the vehicle's onboard system. With Starlink on board, you maintain a live, high-speed internet connection anywhere you park. That means telehealth appointments with your doctor, video calls with your grandchildren, real-time GPS navigation, emergency communication. The fear of being cut off, of being unreachable when something goes wrong, disappears completely. For a lot of retirees, that fear alone is what keeps them tethered to a fixed address and a monthly rent check. Think about what that fear actually costs you, not emotionally, financially. If the only reason you're paying $1,800 a month in rent is because you don't trust that you can stay connected and safe somewhere else, then you're not paying for housing, you're paying for reassurance. And reassurance, sold to you month after month by a landlord who raises the price every January, is one of the most expensive things you can buy. Starlink changes that math. It doesn't eliminate every risk of living on the road, but it removes the one risk that makes most people say no before they've done a single calculation. What happens when something goes wrong? The question nobody asks until it's too late. Let me take a moment here, because this is the part where most videos move on too quickly. What happens if you're parked somewhere remote and something breaks? Not the battery, not the charging, we'll cover that in detail shortly. Something simpler, a water pump, a slide-out mechanism, a tire. Here's the honest answer. A motorhome, electric or diesel, requires access to service. For a diesel RV, that network is large. Thousands of independent RV repair shops, mobile technicians, and dealership service centers exist across the country, built up over 60 years of the RV industry. Parts are widely stocked. Labor is competitive. For an electric motorhome built on the Tesla Semi platform, Tesla's semi-service infrastructure is concentrated near freight corridors, the same geography as the megacharger network. In rural areas, a breakdown could mean waiting longer for a Tesla-certified technician or arranging a tow to the nearest service center, which may be 100 miles away. This is not a reason to walk away from the technology. It is a reason to carry a roadside assistance plan from day one, to understand your warranty terms completely, and to never put yourself in a situation where a breakdown would wipe out an emergency fund you cannot afford to lose. For someone on a fixed income, the financial exposure from a single unexpected repair is not abstract, it is real. And knowing that exposure exists before you commit, not after, is exactly the kind of information this channel exists to give you.
The emotional reality nobody puts in the brochure. There is something else I want to say directly, and I want to say it as carefully as I can, because it matters more than any number on a spreadsheet. The decision to give up a fixed address is not just a financial decision, it is a psychological one. And for many retirees, it carries weight that no cost comparison fully captures. Your address is tied to your doctor's records, your bank, your Medicare enrollment, your voter registration, your sense of being somewhere, of having a place that is yours, that doesn't move, that people can find you at. A motorhome, even a beautifully engineered one, asks you to trade that stability for a different kind of freedom, and that trade is not right for everyone. There are retirees for whom the idea of waking up in a new location every few days sounds like the life they always wanted. And there are retirees for whom the loss of a permanent address, even a rented one, would feel like a loss of identity. Neither response is wrong. But if you've never examined honestly which category you fall into, no amount of financial math will tell you whether this vehicle is right for your life. The numbers are clear. The engineering is real. What only you can answer is whether the life that comes with it is one you actually want. The real cost comparison. Let's run the numbers together. Current average rent in the United States is $1,500 to $2,200 per month, depending on your state. Over 10 years, at $1,800 a month, that's $216,000 you've handed to a landlord. Money gone, nothing to show for it. Now consider the Tesla Motorhome scenario. Purchase price $9,990 for the base model. Campground fees for full hookups, $400 to $800 per month at most RV parks. Many retirees use Bureau of Land Management areas, where stays are free for up to 14 days, then you move to the next spot. Electricity cost with the solar roof and battery system potentially under $100 per month. Total monthly housing cost with this vehicle, $500 to $900, including everything. That's a savings of $900 to $1,700 every single month compared to renting. Over 10 years, that's $108,000 to $204,000 that stays in your pocket. And unlike rent, this vehicle is an asset you own, something with resale value, something that can't raise its price on you in January.
What a typical week could actually look like. Let me make this concrete. Monday morning, you leave Tucson, Arizona. The battery is at full charge, 300 miles of range. You drive northwest towards Sedona, about 180 miles. The drive costs you roughly $10 in electricity. You arrive midday, find a Bureau of Land Management site outside the town, completely free to use, and park with a view of the Red Rocks. You don't plug in. You don't need to. The solar roof starts replenishing your battery the moment you stop moving. By sunset, you've recovered 40 miles of range just from sitting still in Arizona sunlight. Your Starlink connection is live. You video call your daughter in Georgia. The air conditioning runs quietly through the night. Wednesday, you decide to stay another 2 days. The battery, combined with daily solar recharge, hasn't dropped below 70%. You haven't spent $1 on electricity since you arrived. Friday, you move on toward the Grand Canyon's South Rim, another 120-mile drive. Total energy cost? About $7. Total cost of your 4-day stay in Sedona? Under $20. And this is what Tesla understands that most housing companies don't. For retirees on fixed incomes, the greatest financial threat isn't one large expense. It's the relentless accumulation of monthly costs that never stop. Rent, utilities, maintenance fees, all of it compounding year after year against an income that doesn't grow. A self-powered, self-sufficient vehicle doesn't just reduce those costs, it restructures the entire financial equation of retirement living. The challenges, because this is not a perfect story. I told you there was a catch. Here it is, honestly, without softening it. Challenge 1. The megacharger network is still limited. Tesla's Semi uses megachargers, not the standard superchargers available at thousands of locations across the country. Megacharger stations are currently concentrated along major freight corridors. For a retiree who wants to travel off the beaten path, finding a megacharger when your battery is low could be a serious problem in 2026. This is the biggest practical limitation of this vehicle right now. Challenge 2. Vehicle weight regulations. A motorhome built on the Semi platform will be heavy, significantly heavier than a standard Class B or Class C motorhome. This affects where you can legally park, what roads you can take, and what campgrounds will accept you. And Challenge 3, this product has not been officially announced. The $9,990 price point comes from industry sources and analysts, not from a Tesla press release. Musk has hinted at a living vehicle. The Semi Gen 2 is confirmed. The motorhome configuration is reported, but not publicly confirmed. Do not put any money down for this vehicle. If anyone contacts you asking for a deposit or a reservation fee for a Tesla motorhome, that is a scam. Full stop.
But knowing the financial case is only half the answer. The question people ask me most, in every comment under every video, is simpler and more practical than any spreadsheet. Where do you actually charge it? It sounds like a small question. It isn't, because the answer changes completely depending on how you actually travel. Let's look at the real infrastructure, the numbers, the gaps, and the charging model that actually works for retirement.
How retirees actually travel. Before we talk about charging, we need to talk about something more fundamental: how retirees actually move. Most people, when they imagine motorhome travel, picture a road trip. Drive all day, pull into a campground at 7 p.m., sleep, drive again, like a freight truck with a nicer mattress. That is not how retired Americans travel, and understanding this changes the entire charging conversation. The typical retirement travel pattern looks like this. Drive 2 to 3 hours, no more than 150 miles, find a location you actually want to see, and stay for 4 to 7 days before moving again. Longer if the fishing is good, longer still if the grandkids are within driving distance. There's a reason for this pattern. Fatigue is real after 65. Campground reservations at good locations fill up weeks in advance, and after a lifetime of rushing, the whole point of retirement travel is that you don't have to rush anymore. This travel pattern, drive a little, stay a long time, is the single most important factor in whether an electric motorhome works for you. Burn that into your memory. We'll come back to it. The RVs Americans use today. To understand what you're comparing against, let's look at what's already on the road. There are 3 major categories of motorhome in America today. The Class A, the large bus-style vehicle, like the Winnebago Adventurer or Tiffin Allegro, runs 30 to 45 feet long, gets 6 to 10 miles per gallon of diesel, and can travel 600 to 800 miles on a full tank. Refueling takes 5 minutes at any truck stop. The Class C, built on a Ford or Chevrolet platform, models like the Winnebago Mini Winnie, gets 10 to 14 miles per gallon, with 350 to 500 miles of range. And the Class B camper van, the most compact option, gets 18 to 25 miles per gallon. Here is the critical number. The United States has approximately 145,000 to 150,000 fuel stations. 93% of Americans live within 10 minutes of a gas station. For an RV owner, refueling is never a logistical event that requires planning. You see a sign, you pull in, you're back on the road in 5 minutes. That is the baseline you're comparing against.
Why charging is different. An electric motorhome the size of what's being developed around the Tesla Semi-platform would carry an estimated 200 to 220 kilowatt-hours of usable battery capacity. The vehicle weighs significantly more than a passenger car, faces far greater wind resistance, and runs climate control, a refrigerator, and appliances continuously. The result, estimated real-world driving range of 250 to 320 miles under ideal conditions. In cold weather, mountain terrain, or against a headwind, expect 150 to 220 miles. And here is the part that most coverage skips. A motorhome this size cannot use a standard Tesla supercharger. It requires megacharger infrastructure, industrial-scale charging capable of delivering up to 1.2 megawatts of power. So the question isn't whether the battery is big enough. The question is, where are those megachargers? Tesla's megacharger reality. As of March 2026, Tesla has publicly updated its charging map to show 66 total megacharger locations planned across 15 states. Exactly 3 of those locations are operational: Carson, California, Sparks, Nevada, and a newly opened station in Ontario, California, which opened on March 8, 2026. Every other location on the map is marked "Coming Soon." Tesla's semi-program lead, Dan Priestley, has publicly stated the goal of deploying 46 megacharger stations by early 2027. In January 2026, Tesla signed a partnership with Pilot Travel Centers, the largest truck stop operator in North America, with over 900 locations in 44 states, to begin installing megacharger stalls at select locations. The first stations are expected to open by summer 2026. That's 3 stations open today, a target of 37 by end of 2026, a long-term plan for 66 across 15 states. Now compare that to 145,000 gas stations. I'm not saying that to dismiss the technology. I'm saying it because you deserve to see the gap clearly. Texas leads the planned rollout with 19 sites.
California follows with 17. Florida, Georgia, Illinois, and Washington State each have 4 planned locations. Notice what's not on that list: Wyoming, Montana, the Ozarks, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, the back roads of Maine, the Gulf Coast Barrier Islands, the places retirees actually want to spend a week. That gap between where the infrastructure is and where you want to go is the single most important thing to understand about this vehicle in 2026.
The rural America problem. Let me not soften this. If you want to spend the winter in Quartzsite, Arizona, one of the largest gathering spots for full-time RVers in the country, the nearest planned megacharger location is in Phoenix, roughly 130 miles away. It works if your battery arrives in Quartzsite at 50% or better. If you want to drive the Going to the Sun road in Glacier National Park in Montana, there is no planned megacharger anywhere near Glacier. If you want to park for a week on BLM land outside of Moab, Utah, there's one planned site in Utah along I-70, roughly 25 to 45 miles from the most popular remote camping areas. This is not a deal breaker for every retiree, but it is a deal breaker for some, and you need to know which category you fall into before this vehicle ever leaves the lot. How RV parks solve charging. Here's where the conversation shifts, and this is where the retirement travel pattern becomes your advantage rather than your limitation. Most established RV parks in America already offer 50-amp hookups. With the right adapter, a 50-amp hookup functions as a level 2 charger. At 50 amps, you're adding roughly 20 to 25 miles of range per hour of charging. Overnight, say 10 hours plugged in, you can restore 200 to 250 miles of range. For a retiree who drives 150 miles to a new location and then parks for 5 days, that one overnight charge at the campground's standard hookup may be all you ever need. You don't need a megacharger if you're not in a hurry, and the whole point of retirement is that you're not in a hurry. This is also where the solar roof enters the picture. An estimated 2-kilowatt integrated solar array on a clear day in the Southwest generates 10 to 12 kilowatt-hours of usable electricity. Over 5 days parked in Sedona, Arizona, that's 50 to 60 kilowatt-hours returned to the battery without plugging into anything. That translates to roughly 60 to 80 miles of recovered range just from sitting still in the sun. In sunny states, Arizona, New Mexico, Florida, Southern California, this fundamentally changes the energy math. You charge slowly while you live. The lifestyle and the technology fit each other in a way that most reviewers, most of whom are not retired, never notice.
The charging model that works. Let me make this concrete with a realistic scenario. You leave Albuquerque, New Mexico on a Monday morning with a full charge. You drive southwest toward Truth or Consequences, about 140 miles. You arrive with the battery at approximately 55 to 60% capacity. You find a BLM camping area along Elephant Butte Lake, free to use. During the 5 days parked there, the solar roof adds back 10 to 12 kilowatt-hours every day. Your Starlink connection is live the entire time. Your CPAP runs silently through every night. The air conditioning holds 72 degrees through afternoon temperatures that hit 91 outside. At the end of your stay, you check into an RV park in town for 2 nights, plug in to their 50-amp service at roughly $45 a night, and wake up both mornings with the battery between 85 and 95%. Total driving cost for the week? Under $15 in electricity. Total parking cost? $90 for the 2 hookup nights. The 5 BLM nights? Free. Now compare that to what you're paying right now for a roof over your head. The math isn't close. Electric versus diesel. Real numbers. A 2025 Class A diesel motorhome costs $120,000 to $180,000 new. At 10,000 miles of annual driving, that's $3,500 to $4,700 in fuel every year, minimum.
Add $2,000 to $4,000 annually in scheduled maintenance. A typical diesel Class A costs $5,500 to $8,700 per year just to operate before you've paid for a single campsite. At the same annual mileage, the electric motorhome scenario runs $800 to $1,400 in energy costs. Maintenance on an electric drivetrain, no oil, no transmission fluid, no exhaust system, no generator, is estimated at $300 to $600 annually. Total annual operating cost, roughly $1,100 to $2,000. That is a difference of $4,000 to $6,700 every year. Over 10 years, that's $40,000 to $67,000 that stays in your pocket. And the purchase price differential, if the Tesla Motorhome lands near the $9,990 to $30,000 range being discussed by industry analysts, makes the 10-year total cost comparison even more decisive. But I want to add one more dimension to these numbers, because most comparisons stop at fuel and maintenance, and that leaves out a cost that surprises nearly every first-time RV owner: insurance, registration, and the costs that hide in the fine print. A traditional Class A diesel motorhome costs between $2,000 and $4,500 per year to insure, depending on your state, your driving history, and whether you declare it as a primary residence. If you designate it as your full-time home, which many retirees do, some insurers add a surcharge. Others require a separate personal property endorsement for the contents inside. And in Florida, California, and Texas, the 3 states where most RV owners winter, insurance rates for full-timers run at the higher end of that range. Registration is a separate line item. A Class A diesel motorhome over 26,000 pounds triggers commercial vehicle registration requirements in several states. Annual fees vary, but $300 to $700 per year is typical for a large format motorhome. An electric motorhome built on the Tesla Semi platform would likely face the same registration weight classifications. Tesla vehicles in general carry lower insurance rates than comparable vehicles in their class, a pattern that is held across Model S, Model 3, and Cybertruck. But until the motorhome has a full track record with insurers, expect early adopters to pay a premium until the risk profile is established. Factor in insurance and registration, and the annual comparison shifts slightly, but the electric advantage holds. The question is how much of the savings you are willing to let insurance and registration absorb in the first 3 years before rates stabilize.
What range anxiety actually feels like and why it matters more than the numbers suggest. Here is something that no spreadsheet captures, but that every person considering a long-range electric vehicle needs to understand before they buy one. Range anxiety is not a rational fear. It is a persistent background stress that activates whenever your battery drops below a certain threshold, and that threshold is different for every person. For some drivers, the discomfort begins at 30% battery. For others, it starts at 50%. For a retiree who has spent their life being responsible, who has always kept the gas tank above a quarter, who has always had a plan, watching a battery percentage decline with the next charging opportunity 3 hours away produces a kind of low-grade tension that does not go away until the vehicle is plugged in. That tension is manageable with planning and experience. Most electric vehicle owners report that range anxiety largely disappears after the first 90 days, once they understand their actual consumption patterns and trust the system. But the first 90 days are real, and for a retiree considering full-time mobile living, that adaptation period happens while the vehicle is also your home, not a secondary car you park in the driveway when the anxiety gets too high. The charging model we've outlined, drive 150 miles, arrive with 50% battery, plug into the campground hookup overnight, is specifically designed to keep you out of that stress window. You never run the battery low. You never need to find a megacharger under pressure. The slow travel pattern is not just financially advantageous, it is psychologically protective. That is not a small thing. At 68 years old, managing the stress of not knowing where your next charge comes from is a cost that doesn't appear on any spec sheet, but it is a cost nonetheless.
Design your travel pattern around avoiding it, and the electric motorhome becomes the vehicle it was built to be: quiet, steady, and entirely on your terms. The charging question is now answered. You know where the infrastructure is, where the gaps are, and which travel pattern makes this vehicle work. But there's a deeper question that nobody who spends 3 days in a vehicle can answer for you. What happens after you stop driving, not for a weekend, but permanently? Because once a motorhome becomes your actual address, 4 systems decide everything about your life. Not the engine, not the price tag. Water, waste, solar, and weight. If any one of those 4 is misunderstood before you sign anything, the consequences don't arrive on day 1. They arrive on day 43, when the tanks are full and the water is gone and the nearest town is 30 miles behind you. That's what we're going to cover now.
What living in a motorhome actually means. A house relies on infrastructure that exists outside its walls. City water comes in through a pipe. Sewage leaves through another pipe. Electricity arrives through a line from a utility company. You never think about any of it. It just works. A motorhome carries every one of those systems inside the vehicle. The water supply, the waste storage, the power generation, all of it travels with you in tanks and batteries and panels bolted to the frame. And here is what that means in practice. When any one of those systems reaches its limit, the home stops functioning, no matter how beautiful the view is outside the window. This is not a theoretical concern. This is the daily reality of RV living that millions of Americans already manage. Understanding it is the difference between a retirement that works and one that quietly falls apart. Traditional RV owners learn this on their first or second trip. Most electric motorhome reviewers who spend 3 days in a vehicle and call it a test never learn it at all. The water system, the clock that is always running. Every motorhome has a fresh water tank. That tank is the clock. From the moment you leave a water hookup, the clock starts. Every shower, every meal cooked, every glass of drinking water, every toilet flush, it all draws from that tank. And when the tank reaches empty, the vehicle must move. Here are the actual numbers. A Class A motorhome carries a fresh water tank of 75 to 100 gallons. A Class C carries 35 to 60 gallons. A Class B carries 20 to 40 gallons. A couple living and cooking normally uses 8 to 12 gallons of water per day. Do the math on a Class A with a full 100-gallon tank. At 10 gallons per day for 2 people, you have 10 days before the water is gone. At a Class C's 50 gallons, that is 5 days. An electric motorhome built around the Tesla Semi platforms the same water physics as every other RV on the road. Water weighs 8.3 pounds per gallon. A 100-gallon fresh tank adds 830 pounds to the vehicle. Engineers designing this vehicle must choose larger water capacity or lighter overall weight for better electric range. They cannot fully have both. Water, not electricity, not charging. Water is the first thing that moves you. Let me make that concrete with a scenario that happens to real RV travelers more than any of them expected. It's a Wednesday afternoon in late October. You're parked on BLM land outside of Moab, Utah, one of the most spectacular locations in the American Southwest. You've been here 4 days. The views haven't gotten old. You're not ready to leave. But your fresh water tank is at 15%. You've been averaging 10 gallons a day. 2 people, conservative showers, careful dishwashing. You have maybe a day and a half of water left. The nearest full hookup RV park with a water fill station is 28 miles away. You have a choice. Leave now when you don't want to, or stay one more night, reduce water use dramatically, and drive in the morning with enough margin to reach the fill station comfortably. Most experienced RVers choose the second option. They've learned to track their tank level the same way they track a fuel gauge, not in emergencies, but as a matter of daily habit.
They know their usage rate. They know their range. They build the next water source into every route decision the same way a diesel driver builds the next gas station into a long drive. The point is not that this is a hardship. The point is that it requires a different kind of awareness than most people bring to the idea of retirement travel. The freedom of the open road is real. So is the discipline it requires to maintain that freedom day after day. Both things are true at the same time.
The medical device factor, a reality most reviews ignore. There is a category of retiree for whom the power system of a motorhome is not a convenience issue, it is a medical one. CPAP machines, oxygen concentrators, insulin refrigeration, powered mobility aids, electric blankets for chronic pain management, hearing aid charging stations. These are not luxuries. They are non-negotiable daily requirements for a significant portion of Americans over 65. A traditional diesel motorhome runs these devices off a generator, loud, fuel-burning, often prohibited in campgrounds during quiet hours, and subject to failure like any combustion engine. Many retirees with medical devices have simply given up on extended RV travel because managing generator dependency in remote locations carries too much risk. An electric motorhome with an integrated Powerwall-style battery system changes this calculation entirely. Your CPAP runs off the battery, silent, all night without a generator. Your insulin stays refrigerated without any fuel-burning appliance. If the solar roof is pulling 12 kilowatt-hours per day and your medical devices draw a combined 2 kilowatt-hours, you have significant margin before you touch the driving battery at all. For the retiree who gave up on mobile living because of medical device dependency, the electric motorhome is not an upgrade, it is an enabler. It reopens a door that diesel technology closed. This is not a minor point. An estimated 1 in 3 Americans over 65 uses at least one powered medical device regularly. If the electric motorhome delivers on its power specifications, it doesn't just serve the healthy retiree who wants freedom. It serves the retiree who was told that kind of freedom was no longer available to them. That is what keeping your dignity actually means in practice, not an abstract philosophy, not a tagline. The ability to manage your own health requirements in a location you chose, on a schedule you control, without asking permission from a landlord or a generator fuel gauge. The waste system, the other half of the clock. There is a second clock running alongside the fresh water tank. Every gallon of water that enters the motorhome eventually becomes wastewater. Gray water from the shower, kitchen sink, and bathroom sink goes into one tank. Black water from the toilet goes into another. Gray water fills faster than fresh water depletes. Shower water and dishwater add up faster than you realize when you are not connected to a drain that disappears into a city sewer system. Many experienced RVers find their gray tank is the first system that forces a move, not the fresh water, not the power. Waste must be emptied at dump stations. The United States has thousands of them at RV parks, campgrounds, pilot and Flying J truck stops, rest areas, and dedicated public stations. The existing dump station infrastructure in America, built over 50 years of RV travel, works just as well for an electric motorhome as it does for a diesel one. That is actually good news. That is one system where the technology transition costs you nothing. Solar power, what it actually does and what it doesn't. A Tesla-based motorhome is expected to carry an integrated rooftop solar array. Based on what is technically feasible, an estimated 2 to 3 kilowatts of rooftop solar capacity is realistic on a vehicle this size. On a clear day in a high-sun region, Arizona, New Mexico, Southern California, or Florida, a 2-kilowatt array produces 10 to 14 kilowatt-hours of electricity. What does that power? Your LED lighting, roughly 0.5 kilowatt-hours per day. Your refrigerator,
1 to 2 kilowatt-hours per day. Electronics and phone charging, 0.5 to 1 kilowatt-hour. Total for daily living systems, not including air conditioning, approximately 3 to 4 kilowatt-hours per day. On a sunny day in the Southwest, the solar roof covers your living systems with energy to spare. But here is the clarification that almost no reviewer states clearly enough. Solar does not meaningfully recharge the driving battery. A 200 kilowatt-hour driving battery requires 200 kilowatt-hours to fully charge from empty. At 12 kilowatt-hours of daily solar production, fully charging the driving battery from 10% would take more than 15 days of uninterrupted Arizona sunshine. Solar extends your independence at a campsite. Solar maintains your living systems between plug-in charges. Solar is genuinely useful, and in sunny climates, it is financially significant over time. But solar is not a charging solution for the drivetrain. Confuse the two, and you will make a very expensive planning error.
The winter and mountain problem. Solar's real limits. Solar production is not constant. In winter, daylight hours shorten. In northern states, during December and January, a 2-kilowatt solar array that produces 12 kilowatt-hours on a July afternoon in Phoenix might produce 4 to 6 kilowatt-hours on a January afternoon in Oregon, a reduction of 50 to 70%. In mountainous regions, trees block morning and afternoon sun. Canyon walls create shade for hours each day. A retiree spending winters in Florida or Arizona can genuinely rely on solar to cover most daily living energy costs. A retiree spending October through March in the Pacific Northwest, the Rockies, or the Upper Midwest cannot. The solar roof is a genuine financial advantage in the Sun Belt. Outside of it, and outside of summer months, it is a supplement, not a solution. The weight problem, the one nobody explains. There is a fourth system that determines whether an electric motorhome can function as a full-time home, and it is the one that almost no reviewer takes the time to explain clearly. Weight. Every motorhome has a maximum payload capacity. That number defines the total weight the vehicle can safely carry above its base curb weight: passengers, water, food, tools, clothing, furniture, and, in an electric motorhome, the battery pack. A 200 kilowatt-hour battery pack weighs approximately 1,200 to 1,600 pounds. Add a full 100-gallon fresh water tank, 830 pounds. Add 2 passengers, 350 pounds. Add basic supplies and food, 400 to 600 pounds. Total added weight above the chassis, 3,000 to 3,600 pounds, before a single piece of furniture or appliance is counted. What happens when a vehicle carries too much weight? Tire wear accelerates, braking distances extend, suspension components fail earlier. Electricity consumption per mile increases as the drivetrain works harder. For someone on a fixed income, unexpected repair bills are not an inconvenience. They are a threat to financial independence. The weight balance is the engineering challenge that separates a Tesla motorhome that works for 10 years from one that begins showing problems in year 3. It is the number to ask about when official specifications are eventually published.
The lifestyle that resolves most of these constraints. Here is the honest synthesis of everything we have covered across this entire video. The 4 systems, water, waste, solar, weight, are not deal breakers for a specific kind of retirement lifestyle. They are perfectly manageable for the slow, intentional travel pattern that most retirees actually want. Drive 120 to 150 miles, find a location worth staying in for 4 to 7 days, plug into the campground's 50-amp hookup on the first night to top up the driving battery, let the solar roof handle daily living energy while you are parked, manage water consumption at roughly 8 to 10 gallons per day for 2 people.
Plan a water resupply or dump station stop into your route before the tanks approach their limits, not after. This is not a complicated system. It is the system that millions of American RV travelers already use. The people for whom this vehicle will not work are those who expect it to behave like a car that also happens to have a bedroom in the back. Drive 300 miles today, park somewhere random, drive again tomorrow. That expectation will produce exactly the frustrations that make for angry comment sections. The people for whom this vehicle will work are those who understand that the lifestyle and the technology were designed for each other.
The lifestyle that resolves most of these constraints. Here is the honest synthesis of everything we have covered across this entire video. The four systems, water, waste, solar, weight, are not deal breakers for a specific kind of retirement lifestyle. They are perfectly manageable for the slow, intentional travel pattern that most retirees actually want. Drive 120 to 150 miles, find a location worth staying in for 4 to 7 days, plug into the campground's 50-amp hookup on the first night to top up the driving battery, let the solar roof handle daily living energy while you are parked, manage water consumption at roughly 8 to 10 gallons per day for 2 people. Plan a water resupply or dump station stop into your route before the tanks approach their limits, not after. This is not a complicated system. It is the system that millions of American RV travelers already use. The people for whom this vehicle will not work are those who expect it to behave like a car that also happens to have a bedroom in the back. Drive 300 miles today, park somewhere random, drive again tomorrow. That expectation will produce exactly the frustrations that make for angry comment sections. The people for whom this vehicle will work are those who understand that the lifestyle and the technology were designed for each other.
Here is what we covered today, and here is the bottom line. Part 1 showed you the financial case. If the Tesla Motorhome lands near $9,990, the math is real. Monthly housing costs drop from $1,500 to $2,200 down to $500 to $900. Over 10 years, that's up to $204,000 that stays with you instead of going to a landlord. Part 2 showed you the charging reality. 3 megachargers are operational today. 37 are planned by end of 2026. The infrastructure gap is real, especially in rural America. But for the retirement travel pattern, drive 150 miles, stay for a week, charge overnight at an RV park hookup, that infrastructure already exists across the country. Part 3 showed you the 4 systems that decide whether you can actually live in this vehicle long term. Water is the first constraint, not electricity. The gray waste tank often fills before the fresh water runs out. Solar covers your daily living needs in the Sunbelt, but does not charge the drivetrain. And weight is the engineering variable that determines whether this vehicle lasts 10 years or 3. The honest summary: this vehicle helps you keep your money, keep your independence, and keep your dignity, but only if you understand and accept these limits before you commit. It is not a perfect solution. It is a real one. And that's all this channel will ever give you. One question before you go, and I read every comment personally. Of everything we covered today, the financial case, the charging gaps, the 4 systems, what concerns you most? Tell me in the comments. One sentence is enough. Those answers shape exactly what this channel covers next. If you're not subscribed, hit that button now and turn on the bell. This channel doesn't chase views. It exists to give you honest analysis, the trade-offs, the risks, and the real opportunities before you make a decision that affects the rest of your financial life. No hype, no sales pitch, just the facts every week. I'll see you in the next one.